Well, everyone, it's time for us to go and take a look at the Samsung Galaxy A71 and see how this particular phone holds up in 2025. Now, the big thing to keep in mind here is that the Galaxy A71 came out quite a bit of time ago, back in 2019. So this phone is turning 6 years old now, but I remember when this phone first originally came out, and it was such a legendary phone because there was a lot of capability that Samsung was kind of throwing in here inside of this type of device. And since then, their A lineup of phones have gone, they've just kind of gotten so much better, which is something that's so cool. They've had a lot of phones that have came out, and definitely when they drop some of their A series of phones, those typically end up being some of the more popular ones that you can get your hands on. So let's go and see how the Galaxy A71 holds up. First things first, if you do want to go ahead and pick up a phone like a Galaxy A71 or some other ones that I recommend buying this year, links will be down in the description below. You can get them from there, and you can help support the channel at the exact same time. Now, starting off with the outside of the Galaxy A71. This phone, like I said before, came out about 6 years ago, and on the front side, this particular device is going to be giving you a pretty big 6.7-inch Super AMOLED Plus display. So this is a pretty big size panel, as you can probably imagine. It's going to be one of those types of devices that you can once again get your hands on and probably still have a really good time with it, because the panel itself is actually still in pretty decent condition. And I do think if you are once again going to go through and pick up a device, you're probably going to be getting a pretty decent time within this particular panel. Now, it's a big size panel, which is nice. The only downside is that one, it's not that bright of a panel, and two, it's not really going to be giving you this super massively big or super bright panels. There's no high refresh rate within it either. So that right there is going to be kind of a downside for this type of device too, because you're probably going to want to go ahead and buy a device that is going to be giving you a little bit of a better experience. Unfortunately, with this type of device, it's going to be great. It's going to be giving you a great time, but it's not really going to be as great as you probably would have expected it to be. So just kind of keep that in mind. But with that being said too, this phone still performs and looks and feels very good no matter really what you're going to do with it. So I'll tell you from that side, this phone does actually hold up fairly well, but again, it's not the biggest deal in the world in my personal opinion. On the bottom, you're getting a USB Type-C port, which as always is really nice to have. I love having USB-C, and you're essentially going to be getting that type of capability here too between both these phones, which again is really nice to have. On top of that, you're also going to be able to go through and basically get a microSD card slot inside of these phones too. So like I said before, that's always something that's really nice to have inside of these phones. Being able to go through and get a USB Type-C port is awesome. I love it, and you're essentially going to be getting that type of capability here when it comes down to these two devices as well. So that right there's another really cool thing to basically have, and like I said, that's another really cool thing to have at the end of the day. On the backside, you're going to be getting this, basically this whole phone is pretty much built out of plastic. So it's not really the best feeling or most premium phone of all time. It is going to be one of those kind of a lackluster type of experience of devices. So just kind of keep that in mind. If you are wanting the phone that's going to be giving you a better experience here, you might be wanting a better device that would be giving you a better experience. And unfortunately, with something like the Samsung Galaxy A71, this phone is still going to be great. It's still going to be giving you a good experience, but there are going to be better devices out there that you might actually want to go and buy rather than this one. So when it kind of comes down to the capability standpoint, when it comes down to how this phone holds up, I still think it holds up well. It doesn't feel that cheap. I mean, it feels like a cheap phone, but it's more or less kind of what you'd expect for the most part. But there are some other big key takeaway areas that you're going to have to kind of remember here as well. This phone's price tag right now is about $70. So that really is not that much money when it kind of comes to the grand scheme of things. If you're about to go through and pick up a device, you are actually going to go through and kind of save quite a bit of money when it kind of comes down to it, just from the thought process alone. Yes, it is a very kind of lackluster phone, but you're going to be saving a bunch of money when it comes down to it. So that right there, I think, is another one of those really big things to keep in mind there as well. Now, on top of that, when it comes down to its camera, it's going to be giving you a 64 megapixel back camera, a 12 megapixel, camera, and then a, 5 megapixel macro and depth lens. So, it is kind of an interesting type of camera lens. You're getting 4K at 30 on the front and the back, which again is not too bad. Having 4K at 30 can be really decent for this priced phone. But again, you're going to be getting somewhat of a lackluster type of experience once again, because it's not really going to be holding up that well when it kind of comes down to it. So I would imagine that if you are going to go through and buy a device, you are going to be getting somewhat of a lackluster type of experience here, because it's just not going to be holding up that well. The camera, like I said, it's a multiple camera setup, which is always nice to have, but it's not really going to be giving you that great of an experience. So I would hate for you to go and buy this type of phone and then, you'll see that it's really not that great. And that's kind of what's going on here for the most part. So from that side too, that's another one of those really big things to keep in mind there as well. On top of that, when it comes down to basically like everything else about this phone, like with the software updates in this phone really aren't that great either. Like this type of device, I mean, it's still supported with software. It's still going to be giving you pretty decent experiences, but it's not really going to be as great as you probably would have expected. And that is in and of itself another one of those really big key takeaway areas here as well, because this phone just really isn't going to be that great. And once again, I would hate for you to go through and buy this type of phone if it's already going to be giving you like kind of this like lackluster middle of the road type of experience. And that is kind of what's going on here. So definitely from the software experience standpoint, that's another one of those big things to keep in mind there as well. And beyond that, there's not really too many other things that I can kind of see within this phone that really make me want to recommend it to people. The only thing I can even kind of think about is like the battery life. It's a 4,500 milliamp hour battery inside of it, which is actually pretty decent. Having this big of a size battery is very, very impressive for kind of the size of this phone. So I do think this in and of itself is another really cool thing to basically think about here, because being able to go through and buy these types of phones, I think is actually really nice because they're giving you big size batteries and they're like not that expensive of devices either. So that's always something very interesting to kind of keep in mind there as well. And finally, when it does kind of come down to the performance, this phone is going to be giving you, it's going to be giving you that Qualcomm Snapdragon 730 chipset inside with 6 or 8 gigabytes of RAM, which actually at that time really was not that bad of a performing device there. Like that is actually like decently decent for the most part. It's not going to be too bad. And if you're trying to, once again, get a phone that is going to be giving you a better experience here and there, well, you're going to have to remember that these types of devices, they're going to be great. They're going to be giving you a good experience, but they're not really going to be like that great for the most part. And there are pretty much better types of devices that you could go and get your hands on rather than this one. So I would still say from the performance side, if you're looking at other 2019 phones, like a Samsung Galaxy S10, that type of device does have a higher likelihood of giving you overall like a better type of experience than something, like a, Samsung Galaxy A71. So in my personal opinion, right, when I look at this type of device, I still think for the most part, this type of phone is not really too terrible. I think there's a lot of reasons why this type of device can still hold up pretty well, can still do some really decent things here and there, but it really wouldn't be a phone I'd recommend any single person to go ahead and buy anymore. I think there are way better devices to go ahead and buy rather than this one. Phones like the Samsung Galaxy, S21, Samsung Galaxy S22, S23, S24, those types of phones are going to be way better than this one or any of the current generation Galaxy A phones. Those ones would overall make more sense kind of to go and buy rather than this one when it comes down to it. So in my personal opinion, that kind of covers it up there for the most part. If you have any other thoughts or questions, please let me know in the comment section below. Hit the like button, that would mean so much, but definitely hit that subscribe button. More importantly than everything else, I love every single one of you guys. Hopefully I'll catch you guys in the next video. Peace out till then.